two big movers on our radar in the after-hours session. FireEye and AMD both down big. We've got full team coverage on both the names. Bertha Coombs standing by on AMD, but let's begin with Rahel Solomon and FireEye's big drop. Rahel.
So the cybersecurity firm really getting pummeled in after hours right now, down more than 14% the last time I checked. But results were mixed. So it was a surprise quarterly loss, but revenues were in line with expectations. What we're seeing here, though, is investors react to guidance after the company lowered its third quarter and full year projections. The company's CFO saying in part that they were encouraged by their strong billings performance in the second quarter, especially an increase in new business sales and growth in our platform, cloud subscription, and managed services category, but adding that they also resulted in a greater than expected increase in expenses related to cloud hosting and commissions on new business, which negatively impacted our gross and operating margins. So, Melissa, FireEye has been moving to more of a subscription-based model to try to increase their top line and profit margins. Traditionally, though, it sold hardware boxes to detect software threats. So essentially what they're saying is, as they move to this new model, they're also incurring greater expenses and now lowering their guidance because of it. And again, that's stock down in after hours about 13.6%. Melissa, let's go back to you.
All right, Rahel, thank you. Rahel Solomon back at headquarters. How do these stocks look? It's a very mixed bag in terms of the sector overall when you take a look at the various cyber stocks.
You know, when you look at a name like a FireEye versus a CyberArk, you're looking at two very different pictures. Now, I think the question is going to be, is FireEye a read into some of these other names that have been a lot better? When you look at FireEye, rallied 14 to 16 over the last couple of weeks. It failed exactly where it should have at the downward sloping 200-day moving average. So a weak rally in a weak trend getting turned away there. But I think the big test is going to be, how does a CyberArk respond to this? How does a Fortinet respond to this? They've been the leaders in the group. Is this idiosyncratic or is this something more serious? We'll find out.
Yeah, so far it doesn't look like much after-hours reaction in CyberArk, in CrowdStrike, in Fortinet either. Guy?
Well, I mean, if you want to sort of go another step forward, Palo Alto's had a nice run off of $200, but it still isn't really close to the highs we made probably earlier this year. In terms of FireEye, real quick, it's all about valuation. I mean, you look at this now with the lowered guidance, you say, wait a second, how is this stock trading at close to 50 times next year's numbers? It probably doesn't deserve that, especially now, as she just mentioned, gross margins and operating margins are getting whacked. That's not a particularly good sign.
I just sort of have this feeling that CrowdStrike is the it girl in this space that FireEye used to be and used to trade at, and
or Cisco. I mean, I actually think if you want to buy a cybersecurity stock, buy Cisco. They're right in on the enterprise. That is the company that's best prepared to win this battle with that competition.
Let's get to AMD. That stock is off. It's after hours lows. Bertha Coombs got more on this. Bertha.
Results are pretty much in line. The guidance is a bit soft, and that is what the street seems to be looking for. In the release, Lisa Su, the CEO, says that they appear to be at a significant inflection point. They've launched these new Ryzen and Radeon chips, and she says they are well positioned for significant growth in the second half. That said, when they talk about the guidance, they are expecting lower than expected, or at least than what they had projected, semi-custom chip orders. As a result, they're lowering their guidance a bit. They're now looking at the guidance for growth for full year to be in the mid-single digits, about 5% growth. The street had them a little bit more than 6% growth. But they are saying that their margins are going to be a little bit stronger than what the street were looking at about 43% or so. One of the things you have to look at this stock is that it was kind of priced to perfection. It gained 23% just from the last quarter, and it is up 83% year to date before what we're seeing here this afternoon, making it the second best chip performer in the group. And it is also within about 3% of a new 52-week high. So you're likely to see some profit taking. The call is about to get underway at 5:30 Eastern time here. A lot of questions about what exactly they're seeing in terms of softness.
All right, keep us posted, Bertha. Thank you. To her point about price to perfection, there are great expectations that this is a name that is gaining significant share from Intel. The expectations were high into AMD, not so high for Intel, and look what we got.
I think that's overdone at this point. Again, you've had some sizable ramps in comps attached to this company, into these numbers. We know there's new products. We know there's been execution. We know that there was competition on Intel that no one thought was there from AMD. At this point, I don't think there's any surprise. I think the street caught up to itself, and no, I wouldn't chase this at all.
The stock was $16 on Christmas Eve. It traded $34, $35 a couple days ago. I think this is a pause in a very good trend. Look where it bounced after hours. It found support near 30. That's the 50-day average. I think that's a good level to be adding exposure here. It's a good chart in maybe the best group I would be adding on any weakness.
Yeah, I don't think the quarter, I don't even think guidance was that disastrous. I just think, to everybody's point, it ran a little too far, maybe too fast. But I got to tell you something. It seems to be catching up some steam. It was up 1% during the day. It wouldn't surprise me, given what we've seen and given this tape, if this stock actually traded higher tomorrow. That's something to watch, I think.
Really?
But one thing they did point out was chips for game consoles being a little weak. I don't know if there's any read-through to that, or it's a market share thing, or weakness in the space.
Gaming.
Yes.
All right. Interesting one. All right. AMD down 2.8%.